Let's go.
Well, this isn't the first time St. Louis has had to rise up against a major epidemic. We asked our friends at the Missouri Historical Society, as well as some local students, to take us back to 1849 and 1918, when previous outbreaks tested the city's resolve.
Hi, I'm Michael Vinso from the Missouri Historical Society.
And I'm Christopher Allen Gordon with the Missouri Historical Society.
And we're going to be answering questions from students about St. Louis history to see what lessons can be learned from the past.
Has anything like the coronavirus
happened in St. Louis before?
Yes, actually, over the course of St. Louis history, there have been several epidemics and pandemics that have affected the city. The two that hit the city the hardest were in 1849. There was a cholera pandemic sweeping the world. And then in 1918, St. Louis was hit very hard by the Spanish flu pandemic that was sweeping over the entire world.
Did people have to quarantine
in past epidemics?
Yes, actually, in both the cholera and influenza pandemics, quarantine, or we call now stay-at-home measures, many people self-quarantined. Others who showed symptoms or were suspected of having this disease were ordered to isolate. Many new arrivals to the city were assigned to remain on Quarantine Island in the Mississippi River until they could be evaluated.
How was St. Louis different
After past epidemics?
St. Louis actually changed quite a bit after the 1849 cholera epidemic. And it changed for the better. They understood that they needed to clean up the city. They improved the sewer system. Once the cholera epidemic was over, people began to move out of the city and establish new towns along the new railroad system that had been established in 1849, 1850. And so towns like Kirkwood and Webster became the first commuter suburbs to exist west of the Mississippi.
Was protecting yourself from getting sick
Back then, similar to now?
Well, it's actually very similar methods such as washing your hands, covering your cough, keeping a safe distance. These were all deployed and fairly easily followed by most folks. Mask use was also utilized. Ladies often used lavender-scented handkerchiefs in 1849, and many making and wearing cotton masks in 1980, just like they are today.
So while COVID-19 may be new to us, St. Louis has a history of overcoming adversities like these.
Patients only meet Jessica if they're fighting to live.
I am a radiation therapist at Barnes-West County, so I treat cancer patients with their radiation treatments.
Cancer patients that need radiation 5 days a week, they are some of the most vulnerable when it comes to the novel coronavirus.
They've already got one huge health concern right there in their laps, and we didn't want to add something else to it.
So she decided to add comfort instead. It started with Jessica and her mom on weekends at the sewing machine, making face masks for her immunocompromised patients.
Probably made over 100.
But she didn't stop there. Jessica worked with Old Herald Brewery and Distillery in Collinsville to donate a batch of hand sanitizer they were making in-house. She filled personal bottles for her patients. She bought tissues and printed off safety guidelines from the CDC. And then she got busy filling bag after bag, creating a care package for each cancer patient.
What has been the reaction when you give a care package to a patient?
We'll just say super excited. They've shed tears, I've shed tears, and it has helped ease some of their worries that they have, just coming in every day.
And every week, Jessica makes more of them, in addition to her full-time job, being a wife and mother of 2.
What have you gotten out of this journey?
I always want to give back and try to give back as much as I can, where I can. And this was just something that, it just pulled at my heartstrings.
A heart belonging to a true healthcare hero.
Folks, please help us continue to rise up by donating to these worthy causes. I guess the first question is, isn't it funny that when you get out into the real world that nobody cares where you went to high school? Like, I'm contractually bound to ask you about going to Kirkwood High School and never leaving your roots. I know St. Louis is a big part of what you do still.
Yeah, I mean, I love St. Louis. It was the first place I decided to come as soon as this all started going down. I mean, I was in Los Angeles when it started, and then I have a place in New York, and I just wanted to be where it was safe, and it feels safe in St. Louis, and my mom and dad are here, and it just, I'm so grateful that I get to be here during the quarantine. But you're right about the high school thing. It is bizarre that no one else seems to measure each other in other cities based on when you went to high school. It seems like a perfect way to figure out who your parents are and what they do for a living and what part of town you live in. I never understand. Why doesn't everyone do that?
No, that's a good point. I've always fought it, but maybe you're right. Maybe we have it figured out and nobody else does. I mean, I've seen you on Instagram, and I don't think anybody, at least in St. Louis, or anybody that I know, takes shelter in place more seriously than Nikki Glazer. You have to literally be putting together in your mind your next stand-up or some comedy special coming off of all this.
I'm about to be 36, and I am single, and I'm living with my parents for the foreseeable future. And it is incredibly comedic. And it's, I mean, to be honest with you, I have a show coming out. I'm writing it right now. And the premise of the show, it was announced last week. And I'm doing a scripted show based on me with Quibi. And the premise of the show is that I am myself and I get canceled and I have to move back home to St. Louis and live with my family. So I'm currently writing that show that's a network bought, and I'm living in my old house while writing it. So I'm truly living the show that was just such a wild comedic premise. How could that ever happen? Right. And it's happening.
As we wind down, I know that you are aware of all the work that's being done around us. So maybe if you would just say a word to those people that are doing that work every day, and some of them all day, 7 days a week.
I don't know how you do it. I know that a lot of you say that you didn't ask to be heroes, or you don't want to be called heroes in this time because that's not what you signed up for. You're just doing your jobs. But even doing your jobs and doing what you have to do is so heroic and brave. And to get out of bed in the morning knowing what you're going to face, which is what you faced the day before and probably are going to face into the near future, it must seem absolutely daunting, so stressful. And I just want to say that, like, I acknowledge how hard it is, and I don't know that I could do it, and I'm so grateful that you do.
Yo, what up, St. Louis? It's your man, Nelly. Want to send you out some love. Also want to send out a lot of love to the city. I know it's a lot of crazy things going on right now, man, and we're missing a lot of stuff lately. What I wouldn't give to have a Sunday afternoon at Busch Stadium watching the boys get down. So, yo, check it out. In the meantime, I just been hanging out, working a lot in the studio, getting a lot of music done, getting prepared for when this is all over. Yo, so hang in there, St. Louis. Want to send a special shout out to all the frontline workers and everybody risking their lives and their safety for the benefit of basically the whole city. So St. Louis, hang in there. It'll all be over soon, and I'll see you at Busch Stadium.
The people in St. Louis who have risen to the challenge of being on the front lines, whether they're people like nurses or doctors, people who have been working in grocery stores. I remember almost every shopping excursion that I used to go on at Schnucks when I was growing up in St. Louis. The restaurants, the small businesses that have continued to serve in the face of what's been a really, really hard period of time. My heart goes out to you guys. That's what St. Louis is all about.
I've been working with the St. Louis Fashion Fund to create 14,000 medical masks for our frontline workers and medical community. We have a lot to be thankful for, St. Louis, so hang in there. I'm personally super grateful for the medical community and the frontline workers, grocery store, the cleaning crews, who are really keeping us safe and organized in this time of crisis. So thank you very much.
Oh, what I wouldn't give for a good old Cardinal game. You know what it is, the one and only Murphy Lee, man. I love you, man. I love our city, man. And I know we've been going through crazy times, so I'm glad y'all just stand strong. And I want to send a big shout out to all these essential workers, everybody on the front line, man. We appreciate you. You know what I'm saying? Risking your time, your lives. You people have family too. And I just appreciate you for going out doing what you do, man.
This is a time to find something you really love to do, something you didn't never know about yourself, that you done found out about yourself, and you say, you know what? I'm glad I had this time off, because now that I know that about myself, I'm about to elevate that and take it to another level and be prosperous with it. All right, this your boy Chingaling. I'm out.
Yeah.